Diane.
Hi, my name is Diane Mitchell, and I was first diagnosed with Menieres Disease about 13 years ago. I'll never forget the first day that I had my first vertigo attack. I was at work. I'd just been down to pick up something off the floor, and when I stood up, the whole room was just spinning round and round. My husband had to come bring me home from work. It wasn't too long after I got home that the vomiting started. I continued to have these vertigo attacks at least once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week after that first incident. The worst part of that being that I knew that once the room started spinning, it wasn't too long that the vomiting would be happening with that, and that would last for hours until the spinning would stop. With that very first episode that I had had two, I noticed this ringing in my ears, like this humming that just wouldn't shut off. That kind of drove me a little crazy at first because you just couldn't make it stop. There was also a fullness in my ears that you couldn't get rid of. And one of the other nice little features of Menieres disease is that with every attack that you have, you lose a little more of your hearing each and every time. Obviously, I had to try and find some kind of help or a cure for this, so I started to seek out doctors, many specialists, had every test done that you could imagine. They tried every medication that they thought might help, even including a steroid treatment. Nothing worked. Tests showed nothing. And pretty much the answer that I got from all of these doctors was the same, that there is no cure, there's nothing you can do for it, that you just have to live with it. This was unacceptable to me and my husband. It had really torn my family apart. I was afraid to leave the house, afraid to drive, afraid to do anything socially with anyone because you just never knew when the attacks were going to hit. There's no rhyme or reason for when they do come on. They just have a mind of their own and just happen. At this time, I decided to do a little searching my own on the internet, and did find a doctor that was affiliated with Mass Eye and Ear that had a high success rate in helping patients with Menieres disease. I had to wait months to get in to see him, but finally upon that visit with him, we discussed an option to have a surgery done called an endolymphatic sac decompression. And what that was is they went in behind my right ear, made a hole in my skull, enlarged the cavity where that sac is, and then packed it with steroids and then closed everything back up. They couldn't explain why it worked, they just knew that it did. They explained that it was kind of like resetting a computer. I was great for about 1.5 years, and then the vertigo attacks returned. I was very discouraged by this and immediately went back to see the same doctor. Upon my return to him, he found out that I also had Menieres disease in my left ear as well. To have bilateral Menieres is very rare, and unfortunately that was the case with me. I had the surgery done on the left ear as well, and again was good for maybe about 2 years, and then it came back again. My options at this point were to have the surgeries repeated, which there was no guarantee of that helping, and I really didn't want to have surgeries every couple of years for the rest of my life. Or they also said that they could do injections into my ears, which would help with the symptoms but would cause an even greater hearing loss, and that wasn't acceptable to me either because I'd already lost so much of my hearing. At that point I decided to seek out alternative medicine, and my husband and I were familiar with a Korean healer, so I decided to go see him and had acupuncture treatments and took an herbal tea that he made for me for several months at the cost of tens of thousands of dollars. This wasn't helping me either, and I was really getting depressed and discouraged at this point when my husband's boss telephoned him one day and said there's going to be a doctor featured on the Chronicle television show this evening, and he has a high success rate in helping vertigo patients. My husband and I watched the program, immediately were very excited. This was my first exposure to Dr. Jackson, and we made an appointment and went to see him. At that appointment, he explained to me that many patients that have vertigo issues are full of toxins, and they're usually metals. He did test me and found that I was extremely high in metals, and explained a detox program that he had to rid my body of these toxins. We did not make a decision that day to go ahead and do this. I'll be honest with you, I was a little skeptical. We decided we wanted to discuss it, which we did, but then decided that we would go ahead and I would do Dr. Jackson's detox program. By day 3 of the program, all of a sudden I realized that I was really feeling good. When I was not having severe spinning episodes, normally my vision was not stationary. Things would just kind of bounce around and move around. I realized on that 3rd day that things weren't doing that anymore, that I could see things clearly. They were just solid, and I got very excited. I continued to feel good for that whole rest of that first week, and when I went back for my follow-up appointment, I shared this with Dr. Jackson, and we both were very excited. I finished the detox program with him. I did start to have some recurring episodes, but what I noticed was, for example, one morning I woke up, felt good, I had coffee, and I noticed within maybe 5 or 10 minutes that all of a sudden I was starting to feel off, like I was going to have an episode. I shared this with Dr. Jackson, and he recommended that I keep a food journal, which I did, and wrote down everything I ate and drank, and it was amazing that we found that there were certain foods that would trigger these episodes, and it was always within 5 or 10 minutes of eating or drinking them. He had a program also called Advanced Allergy Therapeutics, which he explained to me that he would be able to reset my body to be able to tolerate these foods that I was sensitive to. So one by one we started to treat these foods that I found in my journal were affecting me, and the more foods that we have treated, the better and better I have been feeling. It's absolutely amazing. I feel like I have my life back. I'm not afraid to drive anymore. I'm not afraid to leave my home. My husband and I went out to dinner for the first time a couple weeks ago. We haven't done that in over a year. Just a very exciting thing. I would say in the last 4 or 5 weeks I've only had 2 very slight issues, not even that severe at all. So I'm very, very excited about the results that I'm getting from this program with Dr. Jackson. If you have Menieres disease, or you know of someone that does, I encourage you to get in touch with Dr. Jackson. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. And I really do feel I have my life back, and I have Dr. Jackson to thank for that. Thank you, Dr. J.